On Saturday, my wife informed me that day was reserved exclusively for women, excluding husbands. I didn't contest this decision. 2 days later, while retrieving a jammed page from the printer, I discovered a guest list, 11 females and 1 male, our financial advisor, Julian. On Monday morning, Lauren was already arranging catering details over the phone. She wanted the entire setup by the pool, including string lights, a bartender, the whole shebang. She kissed me on the cheek and requested I keep myself out of sight after 6. It was about wine and casual conversation, she said. Later in the afternoon, while collecting construction permits from the printer, I encountered another jam. Pulling the drawer revealed a crumpled list wedged behind the roller, the guest list. 11 names, all women from my wife's circle, plus one, Julian Voss, our certified financial planner. Rose, no shellfish, was written next to his name. Lauren had hired him around 3 years ago to manage our personal portfolio. Twice we crossed paths, once for a handshake, another to authorize a restricted power of attorney, allowing her to approve recurring transactions without disrupting my job site duties. It wasn't an open-ended agreement, merely regular financial movements. Thus, bills continued to pile up as I constructed foundations in Mesa. However, over the past year, our quarterly discussions morphed into weekly ones. She adopted precautions like password protecting her iPad and locking her laptop when away. I reviewed account statements quarterly. The transactions were indistinguishable from daily expenditures, leading me to believe she was intensifying her financial management efforts rather than the usual. Nevertheless, it didn't seem plausible that a financial advisor would be invited to a girls' night or remember specific wine preferences. By Tuesday itself, I knew I couldn't ignore this situation. Lauren departed the house around 10, mentioning a meeting with Julian at his downtown office. An ordinary Tuesday, she claimed, with no unusual circumstances. Interestingly, our vehicles are both connected to Mercedes-Me, and account links bind them together. I opened the app on my phone in the kitchen, revealing that Julian Voss's Mercedes GLE was located 6 miles from his office, parked within a residential condominium complex in the old town of Scottsdale, not any commercial building or strip mall. Specifically, it was a gated, tree-lined street condo complex. After verifying the location data through the Mercedes-Me app for over a year, I noticed a consistent pattern. Every Tuesday and Thursday, the same address for 2 to 3 hours each time without fail for 14 months. Given my profession of constructing commercial properties across Maricopa County, I'm adept at tracing property ownership swiftly. Using county assessor records, I found the specific unit and discovered it was owned by an LLC. Researching further through the state's public database, the managing member turned out to be Julian Voss himself, confirming his ownership of the condo. Twice weekly, my spouse made visits, yet in the span of 3 years, she never intimated about our shared funds. On a Wednesday, I navigated directly to Dean Holcomb's office in Tempe and took a seat opposite his desk without prior notice. For 12 years, Dean has been my accountant, steady, reserved, adept at identifying minor inconsistencies even within quarterly reports. He'd always tended to the business facets: construction budgeting, project financing, tax returns. Personal accounts were under Lauren's control. She handled them through a distinct household account that Dean never accessed because they weren't business-related costs. I provided him with my online banking login and authorized him to retrieve statements directly. For the rest of the day, he delved into it. When he contacted me later in the evening, his tone was altered, cautious, reminiscent of when a building inspection report yields unfavorable results. Over a span of 3 years, approximately $280,000 was withdrawn from our shared accounts, in small amounts, typically ranging from $3,000 to $8,000 per transfer, made about twice a month. All these transactions were directed into an investment fund where Julian held the position of managing partner. However, the returns on this investment were negligible. The money wasn't growing, but was instead being consumed by fees that directly benefited Julian's firm. The shocking revelation came when we cross-checked our IRS transcript with the accounts. A 1099 form had been filed under my wife's social security number, which didn't correspond to any of our accounts. I was aware of a brokerage account in her name, funded through Julian's fund, yet I never gave my approval or received statements for it. For 3 years, my wife had been discreetly transferring money from our family funds into this man's hands, who she met at his condo every Tuesday and Thursday morning. I erred gravely, a mistake made when emotions cloud judgment. I dialed Julian directly, but he didn't pick up. After 5 rings, it went to an impersonal voicemail. I left a stern message about the lack of growth in our $280,000 fund and asked for a call back. Hanging up, I felt like I had disturbed a nest of hornets. An hour later, Lauren phoned with an unfriendly tone. She asked if I had contacted Julian, not quite managing to keep it light. I confirmed that I did. She inquired about my question regarding Julian's downtown financial advisor job and his Old Town condo. After a brief pause, she denied any knowledge of the matter and ended the call. However, 2 hours later, I received an alert from our joint bank account about a $40,000 transfer to Voss Capital Partners, an unusual amount not typically seen in those transactions. Lauren and Julian weren't merely anxious. They were withdrawing funds hastily before it was too late, and my voicemail triggered their action. In less than an hour, I found myself at our bank on Scottsdale Road, holding my driver's license. As a co-owner, I had the authority to alter transaction permissions. I reduced the outgoing transfer limit to 0 without requiring a second signature, mine, and instructed the manager to flag any modification requests and contact me directly. Any transfer Lauren initiated from that point would be declined. From the bank, I navigated toward my construction site via the quickest route, which led through the Old Town. Although I didn't intend to stop, upon seeing Julian's condo complex, a white GLE belonging to Lauren was parked in the guest lot. True to form, it was Thursday afternoon when I pulled over to capture a picture of her plates next to the building number, providing solid evidence for a lawyer. This is when the second-floor door opened. They exited together at a leisurely pace, neither checking the parking lot. For 14 months without a word from anyone, there seemed no reason to conceal. Thus, Julian reached for the small of Lauren's back and she turned to meet his lips. A swift, ordinary kiss, the kind shared between those no longer cautious. I witnessed it personally, neither through a screen nor hearsay. There, on a sunny Thursday in Scottsdale, was my wife and the man who had drained our accounts for 3 years. I tucked away the phone, ignited the engine, and navigated to the job site. The following morning, I found myself opposite family attorney Rachel Stein, a recommendation from Dean. Her office was a mere 10-minute journey from my largest construction project. Every day I passed by that building without realizing I would require the lawyer nearby. I laid everything on her desk: Dean's transaction report, the clandestine brokerage account, the GPS logs, and the evidence I had seen with my own eyes. She methodically scanned through each page without uttering much. Hiding marital assets and orchestrating transfers via controlled fund, she declared. This is a robust filing. She composed a petition for divorce and an urgent motion for a court-ordered freeze on all contested accounts. She intends to submit it electronically and push for immediate processing, she informed me. With these transfer records, a Maricopa County judge will act swiftly. The timing wasn't in my control, but I was certain of one thing. Between Friday evening and Saturday night, Lauren's world would experience a significant change. Saturday, 6:00 p.m., Lauren was in the kitchen with the caterer already arranging by the pool. I kissed her cheek. It wasn't an expression of weakness, but a strategic move. You don't reveal your hand before the game begins, picked up my keys, and advised her to have a good night. She smiled and thanked me. I got into the Range Rover and drove away from the driveway. The golf club grill was half empty on a Saturday night, which was ideal for me. I ordered a neat Blanton's and placed my phone face up on the bar. 8:30 saw a friend of Lauren post an Instagram story illuminating the pool adorned with string lights, echoing with women's laughter and clinking wine glasses. In the background, standing casually against the outdoor bar with a glass of rosé, was Julian. At my house, a supposedly girls-only party that my wife informed me about was underway. Minutes later, Lauren herself shared her story. A toast. "Grateful for my girls," she penned over the video, prompting everyone to lift their glasses. Moments later, my phone vibrated with an unusual alert, not a social media notification, but a bank update, a freeze order executed on our joint account ending 471. The court had approved Rachel's emergency motion late Friday afternoon. By early Saturday morning, the mere $3 in that account was now immobilized. Nothing can transpire without a judge's consent. Simultaneously, Lauren received the same alert, as we were both listed on the account. Amidst the toast and Julian's proximity with his rosé, my phone had just informed me our funds were frozen and my husband was in court. I took my bourbon, savoring the last sip. She called back after 11 minutes. Her voice, normally steady, held a crack. "What have you done?" she asked. "The party's over, Lauren," I replied. "I'm on my way home. Julian should be gone by then." 20 minutes later, I entered through the front door, empty of guests and music. Only remnants of glasses on the patio under twinkling lights above the pool remained. Julian had left in a hurry, but his half-drunk glass of rose was still on the side table. The printout of Julian's condo address lay on the kitchen island, a testament to his twice-weekly visits for nearly a year. Lauren stood by the sliding door, arms crossed, speaking before I even set my keys down. She explained the money was investments. I didn't grasp the details, as he was a licensed professional. The evidence lay before me. She stated that's his client meeting area, but her tone shifted. We used to go over documents there as his office was being remodeled. 14 months of renovation? I questioned. Every Tuesday for 3 hours each visit. I leaned in closer. You invited him to a girls' night at my house. He sipped rose by my pool, and for 3 years I paid for the apartment you went to every Tuesday, each one without exception. She didn't respond. There was nothing more to say. I pivoted, walked down the hallway, and shut the bedroom door behind me. The subsequent week passed quickly. Lauren packed a bag Sunday morning and left to stay with her friend Megan across town. No dispute, no theatrics. She simply departed, which in truth told me more than any dialogue would have. I thought the most challenging part was over. I had the paperwork, the freeze on funds, the proof. Dean was arranging everything for Rachel's office. All I needed to do was let the legal procedure unfold. For roughly 5 days, I trusted that belief. Subsequently, Julian took an unexpected action. He initiated a civil lawsuit against me, seeking compensation for alleged damage to his business. His reasoning was that I had mentioned him in the divorce petition, which is publicly accessible in Arizona, causing clients to withdraw their accounts. Rather than concealing himself, he was acting aggressively. Over the phone from my truck at a construction site, where dusty boot prints marked my presence, Rachel advised me to stay calm. She described this as a typical intimidation tactic. Nevertheless, she pointed out that truth is a valid defense, and all details in the petition are verified. He was attempting to turn my offensive stance into a defensive one. However, Rachel also disclosed a card I wasn't aware she held. The $95,000 in Julian's undisclosed brokerage account had been entirely funded through his own fund. On paper, Julian claimed ignorance about the account's existence. But every penny within it could be traced back to his fund. It's highly unlikely that one accidentally channels $95,000 into a clandestine account. This was a calculated move, implying that Julian had assisted my wife in concealing money from me. Rachel submitted a counter lawsuit and asked the state board for a review of Julian's license. After 14 days, Julian's lawsuit was dismissed discreetly, but the fallout continued. Public court records in Arizona revealed his connection to a fraud claim during a divorce case, causing several clients to withdraw their business. Within a month, his Scottsdale office shut down and its website was deactivated. The state regulator initiated an investigation of his license. There was no sensational arrest. Instead, it was a gradual, professional downfall marked by each lost client. In the ensuing legal battle, Lauren's attorney struggled for 2 weeks, but the hidden account invalidated all defense points. 6 weeks later, Lauren signed the divorce documents once the account had been exposed, as an Arizona judge disapproves of spouses concealing funds. The house and my primary account have left an impression on me. Lauren took a smaller portion, took what she needed while I was working, then relocated to Tucson without contacting me. Dean informed me of the total loss, including Julian's fees, a zero-return fund, a hidden account, and an emergency transfer I managed to halt at the last second, amounting to approximately $375,000. I wouldn't recover it all, but the court permitted me to retain everything else. On a Sunday morning, the house felt eerily quiet, unlike its state for years. It wasn't just quiet like when someone is in another room. It was the desolation of a place owned by one person. I brewed coffee, sat at the kitchen table, and logged into every account personally, checking, savings, investments, retirement funds, examining each line, balance, and pending transaction. It took me 40 minutes, after which I dialed Dean's number. I instructed him that everything would go through me from then on. Each dollar, each declaration, every mark. No more power of attorney, not for any. Dean concurred. I exited to the patio. The catering chairs vanished, the string lights dismantled, the pool skimmer meandering its course over the water. However, on the side table by the loungers lay a solitary wine glass, Julian's glass, with dried rose at the bottom untouched. I picked it up, drained the last pink trace down the outdoor sink, and placed the glass on the drying rack. Then I retrieved my keys, secured the house, and journeyed to the Hayden Road construction site. It was Sunday, but a foundation pour was scheduled for 6 a.m. the next day, and the structure still needed a final inspection. Concrete doesn't concern itself with personal affairs. My funds were in order, my home belonged to me, and the project awaited.